Hey, Bobby Manning here. Welcome to the Garden Report. Good night to be on the floor.
Absolutely. Perfect night. Perfect night for this.
Biggest test yet for these Celtics, and they passed it. A+, 120-107 win over the Memphis Grizzlies. Ja Morant put himself in the MVP conversation. But the story of the night ends up being Al Horford. 21 points, 15 rebounds, 5 assists, and 2 blocks. Turning back the clock, I mean, this had to rival some of his best games the first time he was with the Celtics. Never mind the second time at age 35, this deep into his career.
You know, it's funny, Bobby. We were just talking about this a couple of nights ago, how beneficial that All-Star break was going to be for Al. And we're starting to see that on both ends. You know, I love his energy on defense. It's been the case all season long, so that's nothing new. But offensively, I mean, it's fitting that Jayson Tatum not too long ago was talking about how he encourages Al to keep shooting and to get into a rhythm and don't get down on himself on that end. And that's exactly what we saw him do here, you know, against the Memphis Grizzlies. You know, he got out there early. I love him in the starting lineup because he's always going to have that energy to start. And the Celtics are capitalizing on that as a whole. I mean, this is entire starting five without Jaylen Brown, which I thought was very significant against a team like the Memphis Grizzlies. But I guess what I'm trying to say is I just feel like everything is clicking for him right now offensively. Defense hasn't been an issue this year. He's a big reason why this team is the best defense in the NBA right now. But offensively, if he can continue to find that rhythm, you know, those open threes are always there for him. You know, because of the way teams have been defending Jayson Tatum, it's been the case all season long. I just think it's a matter of the law of averages at this point, right?
Yeah.
I mean, Al's been ice cold, and I think we're starting to see him sort of come back around now.
Almost every three he takes is wide open. Statistically, you dive into those numbers, and he hasn't made them. I think to start the year, he's like 27, 28% from there. But like you said, since the break, he's up to about 34, 35%, which is more in line with who he is. And we all said everything else was there for him. The passing, the pocket passing, high post play, the defense, certainly. He's going to be borderline all defense this year. But the shooting, it just never came. And now it's finally starting to get there, which is huge for this team. He was projected to be one of their bigger floor spacers, and he gets a bunch to go in this one. I love what he said after last game where he hit that three in the right corner, second half against the Hawks. That gave them I think it was a 9-point advantage in that game at that point. Big shot, and Horford did talk about that practice the other day, the fact that Jayson Tatum was encouraging him along at this point. We'll play that clip real quick.
Man, Jason's been, you know, for me personally, he's been huge all year, just in my ear, and giving me confidence constantly to, you know, be aggressive on offense, to keep shooting the ball through ups and downs for me. And he's been that voice that's been always encouraging me. And I think that, you know, for him in a moment like that, I mean, I was excited, but you could tell how excited he was and how much that fuels our team. You know, it's one of those things that he has taken a step forward in that regard. He is, you know, he is being more vocal. You know, he's letting us know what he's thinking, how he's feeling. And for me, it gives me a lot of confidence, encouraging, you know, to know that, you know, that he has my back. And he's really, you know, he's obviously, he's really trying to win. He's trying to, you know, do things the right way. So yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. And that was a huge momentum shift. I felt like when that happened, and seeing him that excited, that engaged, you know, it's a good sign for our group.
So Horford, confidence.
Yeah.
That's the shooting thing. Like Tatum just kept urging him on, kept firing those passes to him. I think he threw him somewhere between 11 and 14 passes that game. So they're finding a pretty good connection right now, and Horford saying a lot about Tatum as a leader there.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that for Tatum to find his, I mean, we talked about it a little bit in the postgame show, but I'll bring it up again. I mean, the way he's maturing right now, I mean, the All-Star break, I think all of it is significant, Bobby. You know, between him meeting some of his, you know, idols that he grew up watching, you know, being around, you know, the top 75 NBA players that were, you know, announced, I think all of that is significant. He was the only player who represented Boston, not just for the All-Star game, but for the entire weekend. And now he's coming into his own. You know, he's leading this team to where they need to be, and he's been the guy, and now he's going to have to carry that on until we find out about Jaylen Brown. Now, not to, you know, ruin the mood here, but at the end of the day, this is going to be an opportunity for other guys to step up, and that's exactly what we're seeing between Grant Williams, Peyton Pritchard, and of course the veteran Al Horford, which is, they needed all of that against the Grizzlies.
Yeah, especially after Aaron Nesmith went down a spot start pretty early in this one with a bad ankle injury. He's day-to-day. Ime Udoka said Derek White gets hurt here as well. great defensive game from him, I thought.
Yeah,
he was strong.
No question.
2 of 4 from 3, or 2 of 4 from 3. He ends up going down with like a left elbow stinger late and didn't return. So we'll see what ends up happening with him as well. Brown dealing with the ankle injury, but still, this group sustains defensively. They were dominant at times, and right from the opening tip-off, I thought what's really become an emblematic of this team, and obviously Horford's a big part of it, is they pile up stop after stop to start a game. They get off to these phenomenal starts in first quarters, and the Grizzlies statistically were one of the best first quarter teams coming into this game. You get off to starts like that, you build a double-digit advantage early, and the Grizzlies are pretty much chasing them the whole game after that.
And that's exactly what you want. I feel like they just the defense was so stifling that they were out of sync, and 2, once they finally did find that momentum, they're down by 10 or 12 points, and that's a testament of the defense, at the end of the day, Bobby. And you look at someone like Al Horford anchoring it, guys like Robert Williams they have no problem dealing with the switches. Same thing goes for Al, by the way. I loved that he was encouraging. Now, it only happened in about 2 plays, if I remember correctly, but he was encouraging that matchup against Ja Morant. Like, no. You guys want to switch off of me? Let's do it again on back-to-back possessions. Like, that wasn't a coincidence. They were targeting him, and he held his own. Granted, the second one, Ja did get to the free throw line. It was a foul, but again, that's just a testament to who Al is, and even at this stage of his career, to be able to not shy away from that sort of matchup against the hottest player, the hottest scorer in the NBA.
Yeah, and how much can we talk about this defense? It's every game, every week I'm writing a new article about it.
I know,
and
right?
you don't get a feel that opposing teams coming in. And Taylor Jenkins kind of did with the Grizzlies here. He's like, this is going to be a new level from what we've seen. But most coaches are like, yeah, it's a great defense. You see the way Ja tries to get those matchups on Tatum, Horford, whoever it is. You see the players realize in real time that, like, oh, crap, there's nowhere to go here. And the Hawks tried earlier in the week to try to get Rob on the perimeter. That didn't work all that well for them either. So
there's no
weakness.
There's no weak link in that starting 5. I mean, now that Jalen's out, it sort of complicates things. But people are you see
but you bring White off the bench. He was great.
Right. And guys like Al going to compensate. Al played 40 minutes. I mean, that's not what he's accustomed to doing. But it's okay right now because
Tice, Grant.
Yeah, Tice. I mean, you have those options. It wasn't like the Celtics were hanging by a thread, which I think is so significant and so important. Like, we can't stress that enough, because a month ago, 2 months ago, I don't think that's the case. I really don't. This team has certainly turned a corner, and they're just doing their best to sort of plug those holes that's missing right now, which is between Jaylen Brown, maybe White's a little bit banged up. We'll have to wait and see. And now that wing position gets a lot thinner when you have Aaron Nesmith out of the mix.
So credit to you. We were down here a few weeks ago. You said you could see this team contending, and I followed your lead, a couple weeks later in Brooklyn. So we're both on board. I think we're both starting to buy into this.
We're believers, Bobby. That's right. We're believers.
The offense is the only area you would question, though, and they're starting to overcome their lack of shooting here with excellent ball movement. Smart, 12 assists here. Horford, if we want to bring it back to him, with the 5 assists. Throwing lobs to Rob, throwing lobs to Tatum on the break. The ball movement that Horford, the initiating that he's able to do on top of the shooting that he's getting going in this defense, makes you think that Horford, they're going to look at that $27 million next year, and I know it's a big total, but what he's doing for them right now, it's like, all right, let's sign up for another year of this, and maybe another year beyond that, and maybe into a new contract. Who knows how long Al wants to keep playing, but he just looks so good running the floor.
Right, especially at that stage of his career, right? After this contract, you're on a year-by-year basis, so it's sort of like, what have you done for me lately sort of dynamic for Al. I mean, of course, we're looking way ahead here, but, like, yeah, I mean, that wouldn't shock me, Bobby. It really wouldn't. My only concern, again, and we talked about this during the postgame show, is if Jayson Tatum doesn't have it, if Marcus Smart is ice cold, it's going to be hard for this team to find that offense. And playing against a team like the Brooklyn Nets, I mean, they're going to need to carry this momentum into that game. You're still very thin without Jaylen Brown, and we can't stress that enough. But at the same time, they're not hanging on by a thread. Like, this was a grown man win. You know what I mean? Like, and the Celtics can use all of those between now and the postseason.
For sure, and they're starting to pile them up. MVP candidates: John Morant, Joel Embiid, Nikola Jokic.
Legitimate competition, right? That's what Celtics fans were talking about. Well, here you go.
Well, if one guy's going to do it, it's certainly Kevin Durant and the Nets, who can challenge you with shot making and great isolation play. That's what it's going to take to break up the Celtics offense. And if they slow down that team, you're really starting to talk about something.
Then we're talking. Especially if it's a team with Kyrie and Durant, which is supposed to be the case this weekend. Then that's another off of this win against the Memphis Grizzlies. That's a momentum switch for sure.
Celtics win 120-107. Of course, join the Discord as we continue the conversation. CLNSmedia.com/Discord. The chat went well.
It did. We got a little bit off topic, but I didn't mind that. I'm a huge TV guy, and I do watch Euphoria. So that came up, and look, we don't just keep it Celtics. I'd say it's about 90-10, but every now and then I'll chime in on things like that.
That's what you get on Causeway Street. Go check that out. Dome
Great
Theory
plug.
coming
Great plug.
tomorrow. We'll talk some Grizzlies with one of their beat writers, and of course, CLNS Media Celtics All Access covering every Celtics game. We'll be back here 1 o'clock tip between the Nets and the Celtics here at TD Garden.